Okay, well, this is my first one of these. We'll be looking at the Reddit Nice Guys. Am I saying that right? Yes, the Reddit Nice Guys subreddit, which I could just say Nice Guys subreddit. People know what that means. But anyway, I figured, diversify things a bit. We'll have a little peruse. Well, I've already had a peruse and just pick like the first ones that popped up because, yeah, why not? And I'll be having a look at the also upstanding and stable men in our society. So, the first one is a text message. On the top, it says, I know you didn't give any toxic vibes from me because I have none to give. That's very, I would say that's very comforting, especially if you say it to someone. If you're covered in blood, you say, oh, I didn't kill anyone. Oh, come on, you've got to beat them. No. Alright, let's see. If how I acted, treated someone, or intended to make someone feel bad had any semblance of toxicity, I would own that. I know that you didn't give any toxic vibes from me because I have none to give. Some people automatically connect alpha with toxic masculinity. Okay. Well, let's have a little breakdown of that first sentence there. Initially I thought it would just be, I'm such a nice guy, hence because it's called Nice Guy subreddit. But now he's talking about alpha maleness and toxic masculinity, which if someone has to point out that they're not a toxic male, and they're not an alpha male, probably is the case. Chances are, but that's quite an interesting thought process there from our protagonist here. Some people automatically connect alpha with toxic masculinity. That's an interesting statement. I wonder how he. I'm sorry, I just had a little think about how he made the tenuous connection between toxicity or being toxic and then being okay. Now I'm thinking of being stupid now, but it just seemed like a bit of a like. So I'm assuming he probably thinks he's an alpha male, but he's like, I'm not toxic. I'm not into that toxic masculinity stuff. Um, I have no words. I have nothing to add to that. Let's carry on. They are wrong. We have no better word to describe someone who takes the lead, handles pressure well, and is assertive. Alpha men and women are not automatically bullies. I despise bullies, and an observant person would know that. Well, at least he's, alpha is a non-gender specific term, so at least he's not, misogynistic. Women can be alphas too, you know. I'm sure certain, toxic males would not have that and preach from the rafters that women cannot be alphas. It must be, submissive and breedable for all. But luckily, this guy here, he believes women are alphas as well. That's even the point of the statement he's saying. I just found it interesting that he included it. But um, I suppose, the main takeaway from this is he is actually an alpha male. He is a self-diagnosed alpha male. And but he's strong. He's assertive and he can handle pressure. But he's not toxic like other guys. Which and the cool irony is at the bottom. He's like, an observant person would know that, and I'm assuming he's trying to demonstrate some level of self-awareness, being like, if I was a bully, I'll be observant enough to know, and the people around me should be observant enough to know and look at me. That's quite an interesting take. And honestly, your reason doesn't matter. If I said something that upset you, especially when when your interpretation doesn't align at all with, hang on. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, well, it cuts off here. So it says, honestly, reasoning doesn't matter. If I said something that upset you, especially when your interpretation doesn't align at all with, and then that's it. That's a bit of a cliffhanger. Oh, with reasoning. Oh, sorry, I was. When I expand it 4 pages instead of the whole thing. Right, let's go from the top. And honestly, your reason doesn't matter. If I said something that upset you, especially when your interpretation doesn't align at all with reasoning, doesn't matter. Okay, it's a bit jarring. If I said, oh no, okay, right. We're gonna have to go back They put the paragraph in the other page, which is quite handy. If I said something that upset you, especially when your interpretation doesn't align at all with what you observed of me, either ask me about it or even just wish me well and move on. So because you think I self-described as a disrespectful person, you then go and do what most online daters consider the most disrespectful thing to me. Oh, the irony. Well, that's a very that's really interesting. That let's go from the top which I finally found. If I said something that upset you, especially when your interpretation doesn't align at all with what you observed of me, either ask me about it or just wish me well and move on. So I'm assuming probably the whole. I haven't really looked at the cause of this. I probably should, but I don't know. Maybe she said something to him. Well, probably clearly something like she's said something to him. He was probably being a douche because he's an alpha. Not mutually exclusive, of course, I don't think I'm using that word right actually. Unable to both exist. No, I'm using the word right. Okay, never mind. So he's probably in his alphaness. This poor damsel couldn't handle it, and he came across as rude and disrespectful to this feeble female mind. And then I don't know if she says something to him to be like, stop being weird, being making me uncomfortable, whatever. But he's like, no, I'm not toxic. And then here he's saying that he's basically saying, if I said something to you that was mean, but you look at how I behave, you are crazy. Like you are insane. So basically saying that her opinion is wrong. If he acts nice but he says bad things, then clearly she's just a bit loopy in the head, isn't she? She's not got it all together. And then I don't know what happened between that or afterwards. You then go and do what online dating is considered the most disrespectful thing to me. All the irony. I think he's a little butthurt. I think his alphaness couldn't really handle the power or the rejection or somehow being in the wrong. Maybe do you know? Think about it, this is quite an interesting character because he's a self-proclaimed alpha male, which is typically very strong and arguably aggressive at times, I suppose, when needs be. But he also insists that he's a very calm and gentle and nice guy. So he's trying to toe the line, between being super strong and alphaness, but then also being super nice. Which I mean, look, you can do both at once. However, he he fails on both fronts. I suppose what I'm trying to get across, because he's immediately gotten upset that he's done something possibly wrong, and it's not like upset as in how could I have done this? I'm such a douche. It's like, how dare you think this of me? I'm the perfect human being. I'm like so, and you're wrong if you think I'm bad. Let's carry on. I just found that quite an interesting juxtaposition there between being extremely alphaness and now getting upset that she didn't like him, and then also trying to be a nice guy, but then also getting upset that she didn't like him, and then failed at the alpha response and failed at the nice guy response. I mean, like if you're properly nice, you would just be like, "I'm sorry I felt you that way. I get you don't want to see him anymore." But then if you're the fake nice, it's pretty powerful to cause this reaction, I would argue. It's crap like this that makes online dating hard. We should all try to be better. Amen. I think you should do better. I love the grand finale. After all of these two very long, very drawn out messages, She's like, okay, what a strange response. I met you once. Mega based. And that's it. There's no. Well, that was an interesting response. I'm trying to have a look to see what could what could possibly cause him to make this fella so mad. Hmm. Well, I can't see a true cause, but man, what a goofy fella. You know, let's go back and do a quick analysis of where he went wrong and how things could be improved. Um, so first off, he's very adamant that he's not toxic. That is something he is, super. I'm not toxic. I could never be toxic. You're crazy thinking you're toxic. Guys, as a life lesson, if someone says, they're not toxic, it makes a point of it. They probably are. You don't have to shout it from the rafters. If you're just a normal, relatively stable fellow or fellowette, then you know you would be preaching, "I am not toxic." Second of all, I think one of his massive shortcomings in this, and hence why he's in this little predicament, is his little spiel on alpha maleness and toxic masculinity. Um, I mean, look, if you want to be like, I think it's great. He can lead, he can handle pressure, and is assertive. That's all great qualities to have as a person. You know, but the big question is he all of those things because he's an alpha male, or is he an alpha male because he's all of those things? Um, I think he thinks he's an alpha male because he's all of those things instead of seeing them as good traits to have. It's like, no, this will make an alpha male, and this will make all the ladies wanna join me, and I can start my own harem or something like that, which isn't very alphaness. I think you should be very committed to one partner, but you know clearly his alphaness isn't into commitment, or well, no, that's just me making up words now. Start using my train of thought. Alpha men and women are not. But see, that's the only saving grace I could say for alpha men and women. So, what? Props to him for being inclusive. Women can be alphas as well. I love this comment. This is my favorite one. Um, at the bottom, and it was like, "You go, girl. You're the real alpha," which I think is very true. That's a very base response. I don't think he probably wasn't too happy about that. um, let's see. Um, I think probably the third and final thing of major note is your reasoning doesn't matter. That is an interesting statement, to say the least. Your reasoning doesn't matter. And he said honesty. So, he could have told her earlier, but he was merciful and decided to tell her when he was very butthurt and upset. Your reasoning doesn't matter. Well, clearly, I feel slightly betrayed, because he's all about. I thought, he was inclusive towards women, saying they could be alphas as well. But now, all of a sudden, he's like, no, woman, your reason doesn't matter. Which is some absolute top tier gaslighting. I think that guy should be up there with top 10 manipulators of all time. Arguably, he's number one. Just telling the woman, your reasoning doesn't matter. Your reasoning doesn't matter. Wow. Well, as an interesting one. Oh, and then he was complaining about online dating being hard, which is something completely optional and not obligatory. I don't know why he puts himself through such suffering and pain if online dating is this tricky. But, alpha male's got to start their harem somewhere. And what better way than to meet strangers online, I guess. What a fucking moron, man. Well, that's that one. I've already been talking for 15 minutes. This is my first one of these. I'm not sure how much more. Well, I don't think I'm doing a very good job of this, but